Okay, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackard,
And I'm Leonka Reina.
and this is a Mystic Morning Show. Today, we're talking with Katie Sutton, and she channels and does everything quite conscious and quite woo. Let me just say, she has channeled 12D and beyond, and we've had many, many conversations. We know we can absolutely go everywhere with this girl, and that's why we keep inviting
That's
her
right.
on.
A couple words about Katie. Katie is an intuitive channel, a vibrational energy healer, a way shower based in North Carolina. She supports clients on their personal path to wholeness, fulfillment by empowering them to live as their authentic selves and manifest their true potential. With over a decade of experience researching natural remedies, formal study at the Boulder Psychic Institute, certifications in professional and wellness, Katie founded Zen Within Academy to provide a wide array of healing modalities and transformative programs. She also is one of those that can really support you on your journey. When we spoke with Katie last, she blew my mind, really,
Every single time.
because she brought in some of these concepts that I never even thought of. And one of those, and we can start to jump right in, was she was able to converse or reach the time when she was in ancient, right? So we call it ancient time. And of course, we know that everything is simultaneous, but she really wanted to unearth what was going on in humanity's history. And so she started to interface. And I thought, wow, we can really do that in order to gain more knowledge about ourselves today. And so I could read all of these accolades, but when we really experience her work, I thought that was very phenomenal and fascinating. So welcome.
Hi, I'm happy to be back. Thank you all for having
Yay.
Oh, thank you. It's
Happy New
a
Year.
Happy
Happy
New
New Year to
Year.
you too. It's really a joy to be with you. Why don't you just take the audience that is new here and maybe have never met you back a little bit and give us like why did you found the Zen Academy?
Mhm.
What does what does it do? What's your purpose here?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I started to try to take care of myself on this journey. That was really how I got onto the healing path.
Mm.
I started very young, being exposed to a lot of different natural therapies and crystals and all kinds of things. And then I went down the corporate path thinking that that was my zone of influence in this lifetime, and definitely learned
Mm-hmm.
a lot in those 13 years, but kept getting sick and had chronic issues due to being an empath and a very sensitive soul, and really was on a journey to try to understand myself. And as I started to understand myself, I started to realize that other people needed to have this information about how empathy is a superpower. And when we can claim our sensitivity and our intuitive abilities, it can really help us function much more soundly in all areas of our life, even if we just continue to follow a traditional life path and, don't go in a spiritual direction as a healer. I think being empathic and intuitive just helps you be better at life. And so that's
Mhm.
really my goal when I work with people, is to help them connect into unity consciousness, their 12th dimensional frequency, which is really moving beyond the conditioned responses that we've been given through traumas and experiences that we've had in this lifetime and in other lifetimes, to help them kind of reconnect back to their soul and the truth of who
Mm-hmm.
they are. Because my belief is that this world is going to change from the ground up, that we have tried and failed too many times for the people at the top of the house to figure everything out, and that my role is to empower individuals to be in their highest expression, whatever that may be in their life path, so that they can help this world to transform from the inside out.
Well, thank you for
Fabulous.
the very bold work that you do. It does take a lot to raise your hand and come forth. When did you, I know that you said that you started doing this, so, you had your experiences when you were really young. When did you come forth and really take ownership and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do? And what was it like back then, at that time?
Yeah, I think I had a awakening kind of in 2012, but I was
Hmm.
still very much on the corporate path. And that was about when I started to kind of really get serious about healing and understanding what was going on with myself. And then in 2017, I hired a business coach and was ready to start Zen Within. And 2 weeks later, I got laid off from my corporate job because the universe was like, okay, she's ready.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I did, yeah, I did a little bit of consulting for about 8 months, which was really great because it was a great bridge for
Mm.
me. And I tell
Yeah.
people that all the time when they're wanting to make a change, like it's okay to ask for a bridge. You don't have to go, 0 to 60 if you're trying to move in an alternative path. You can always
Yeah.
ask the universe for support. And so around 2018 was when I went fully into Zen Within Academy full time and working with clients every week and leading retreats and workshops and kind of all the teachings that I do.
Awesome.
Wow. Wow. I really want to just dive into channeling with you for just a minute. I feel like that's a place where a lot of the audience might want to be taking themselves to. A lot of them are healers, and I just why don't you talk a little bit about when you started to channel, how it came through, and how you work with people as a channel these days?
Sure. Yeah, I had been studying at the Boulder Psychic Institute for about 3 years, and I graduated from their undergraduate program. It's a very intensive, like boot camp program, is what it feels like. It was a big shift for me to move through that for 3 years, and I thought I was going to go into their channeling program, and actually went to visit a sacred site. I went to Mount Shasta in California, and
Mm.
that's when my channeling started to activate. It
Mhm.
was just kind of a thing that happened in a ceremony with a bunch of women, and it just started to come through me. And I had already been channeling, but I didn't realize that's what was happening through sound
Yeah.
healing and the work that I was doing with vibrational therapy and sound healing at the time. But then it started to come through in the form of light language and frequency tones and healing. And then I started to get more direct downloads of just information that I now know was stuff that I had taken from another lifetime and been kind of holding in the etheric plane. I call it the
Mm.
etheric internet.
Mhm.
Yeah, and was just kind of waiting to bring that back at the right time on the planet in this time of transformation. So I always say that I'm kind of connected to the esoteric or etheric internet, and that's what channeling really is. And I believe that anybody that is in alignment with their heart and is able to kind of tap in and get in alignment in their center channel along their chakra column and really start to be willing to be a vessel of connection to source can channel in a lot of different ways. I think artists, when they're in flow, I think when you're doing a speaking engagement and you're just able to drop in and share what is needed for the audience, I think that's all channeling.
I do
And I
too.
believe that, we're seeing an uptick in the understanding of channeling because there is a desire to connect with things that are bigger than us. But what I have learned in the last 3 years, especially, as I've done work with my body and my nervous system post long COVID, which I went through, is that the more I get into the body and understanding that the day to day, like chop wood, carry water, which is one thing I keep talking about in January, where we're just seeing the spiritual and the mundane, the more I drop into that, the broader my channel becomes. And
Wow.
so it's not about leaving the body or
Mm.
thinking that I need to tap into something that has more information than me. It's really tapping into my God consciousness
Yeah.
internally and opening that channel so that I can just get a higher perspective when I feel like I'm stuck or not able to move forward. And that's really what I do for clients as well. I connect into their higher self and their guides. And I often channel their inner children parts because they start to talk to me when I start working with them, especially if they've been
Mm.
separated from their inner child. So
Yeah.
channeling takes a lot of different forms for me these days.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Let's talk a little bit about inner child. I've kind of had resistance to that word in the past, and then now I seem to have more of a like relationship with it.
Are you doing inner child work? I'm curious.
Well, I seem to every single hypnosis session that I have lately, it always, I will say, well, when was the first time you experienced that? And
Mm-hmm.
so then that goes back to them going to, well, I was 5. Well, what happened when you were 5? And I find that that is probably the best way for me to work with clients is having them really go back in the clock and saying, here was the point of creation.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's called, quote, inner child work, but it seems like that would be you meeting that child. And I will then usually have them, as the adult that they are today, go have and inform that child.
Let me ask this other question too.
Mhm.
How important do you think, I mean, I don't want to give a lot of importance to anything or significance, but is this a key piece? Okay, her head just started going, yes,
Yes.
everyone.
I mean, I think it's challenging because I work with a lot of people who have maybe been in therapy for 10 or 15 or 20 years. And I even work with therapists and I love therapy. And
Mhm.
I think that it's definitely needed. But what I find is that a lot of times we repeat the stories over
Yep.
and over again. And what's actually missing is accepting that child and bringing the light of that child back home to the field.
Mhm.
So there may be people that are very aware of their traumas from their childhood, and it can serve to kind of keep that trauma alive when they keep talking about it.
Yeah.
So I try to approach it from this perspective of how do we surround and protect that inner child with love so that we can repattern that experience in their vibrational frequency field and actually draw those light fragments back home so that they can reseat in their center channel. And so
Mhm.
that's them creating from a place of wholeness. So when I approach inner child work, it's not that every session has that component, but over the years, I guess just in all the sessions that I've done, I've started to be able to hear people's children when they show up
I believe you. Yeah.
and be able to see and literally the last couple of weeks especially I've been doing so much really deep nervous system work with people where I can feel their inner child's deep fear or deep trauma and they may not have any memory of it
Mm.
and the key is that they don't have to actually remember what happened for us to do that work. It's really about creating a field of energy that is accepting and loving of that child and reintroducing them to that aspect. And when we are working on our intuition and wanting to expand our clarity and our connection to spirit, think of children and how, when they're in their highest light and before anybody's told them that it's their imagination,
Yeah.
that they're very connected to source. And so if you're wanting to expand your channeling or expand your intuitive awareness, the inner child is key to that. And
I
that
gotcha.
aliveness and that fulfillment that a lot of people I think are really lacking. That's one of the things the guides keep talking about in 2026 is that our frame of reference for how wide we are living in our human experience is going to expand, meaning we're going to have more aliveness and more access to new experiences in
Oh, cool.
2026. And I think the inner child is curious and adventurous when it's in its healed state. And that's really
Uh-huh.
what I want people to have access to.
Because, and I was going to ask, as one of the downsides, though, I don't say downside, but if not healed and if not really, some of this expanded access can show up as fear.
Sure.
I'm saying this from my own experience
Yeah.
because I didn't know what was happening with me, and of course, my inner child had a lot to go through and work through. What I'm not sure exactly, but I did know that it was showing up as fear, and it was like I don't want that because I'm just going to run away from it because I don't know how to integrate that with that at all. And so, of course, my adult self was like, oh no,
Yeah. Most
let's
of
go
the people
repeat a
that I
pattern
work with
instead.
most of the people I work with are so highly sensitive and they've been that way since they were born. I
Yeah.
mean, I've had in November and December, I had all of these very interesting sessions where I was going back into people's timeline when they were in utero and witnessing the first moments where they started to run the energy of the nervous system of their mother and seeing how deeply the mother's nervous system was impacting their nervous system as it was forming. And so there's a biological component to the inner child work too, where the things that happen to us in that timeline, in that kind of 0 to 6 years time frame where we're really building the fortitude of our soul,
No.
the experiences that we have and the experiences that our parents have are living in our biological system too. And so
Yes.
when I go to do the work with the inner child, there's always a body component as well, right? There's
Yes.
phantom pains and nervous system stuff and anxiety stuff going on that shows up when there's an inner child light that's missing.
Yes. Can we do an example of it so
I'm glad you
people can
asked.
experience it?
So
Yeah,
glad you
absolutely.
asked.
Do you have an idea of like what, give me more of what you'd like me to go into?
Well, I mean, I've got, and I mean, I'm sure Leonka can go as a subject too, but I know that I've got patterns of control that I'm still,
Sure.
trying to drop.
Hmm.
That I just see myself, especially with my daughter, and I mean, well, self-control and,
Sure.
forcing myself, and, it just seems like it's time to say, wait, I want to be free of this. And I
Hmm.
know that it comes from a long lineage of my past where I was trying to prove things to other people. I was trying to prove my worth in deep ways where maybe it didn't even need to be proved. I just needed to show up as myself, but I went in a pattern of proving.
Mm.
So is that something that you
Yeah.
would do this on?
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
How old is your daughter?
She's 19.
Okay. One of the things that I often see is that when we have a child that they tend to mirror things that we're needing to heal as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, with your daughter, when you get into this place of trying to protect, because that's the word that I hear, it's like a protection energy that
Mm.
comes in. What happens inside of your being when you go into that space of trying to protect her? What gets
Mm.
triggered for you? How does that feel in your body?
Everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just, I guess because I have had in the past this, where boys have made me not feel good about myself or kind of done things that wasn't really good for me. I'm trying to help her not get in situations like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what I was sensing when you talk about control, I love to talk about control energy because it gets a really bad rap.
Mm.
And I I actually had a healer tell me one time, she's like, Katie, control energy isn't bad. It's the thing that keeps us from joining a cult. It's the thing that brings in
Okay,
discernment.
okay.
It brings in this awareness of like where we need to draw boundaries.
Mm,
Where control gets out of bounds is when we are trying to create safety in an external environment where we literally don't have any control.
mm,
So
Hmm.
we actually need control energy. We need
Hmm.
to be able to contain our energy field in a healthy way and to hold space for our own emotions and to be able to kind of like hold that energy of safety for ourselves. So control energy is actually a really good thing. But
Yeah.
if
In
we have,
some ways, when it's intentional, when it's
sure, yeah,
habitual, that's
yeah,
when it gets really annoying to me.
right.
Because sometimes I've been like, dang, I did it again to her,
Mm,
kind of feeling. And then I feel like I almost have to go back and apologize. And then I'm like trying to break the cycle of why did I say that in the first place?
yeah.
Yeah.
And when we have tendencies from our
that's a good
childhood
question.
where there was energy where we didn't feel safe and we go into hypervigilant patterns, I call it the
Hmm.
hypervigilant protector, right? And especially if we're sensitive souls and we've had people around us that were chaotic or unsafe in some way, the way that we created control in those environments was to try to regulate their system, was to try to manage their system. And a lot of
Oh, big
times
time.
yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of times we gave up our entire nervous system to do that.
Yeah. Oh
That's
my
why when we're doing child
gosh.
work, I'm like, oh, you're running your mom's energy or
Oh,
you're running
Oh
your
my
dad's energy.
goodness. That's
right.
so
But
spot on.
we do that
Hmm.
with our children too, right? When I work with parents, especially parents of what I would call more adult children, so 18 plus,
Mm.
that phase can be really challenging because they need to go out and have those experiences, but they also may not be ready for all the experiences that they're having.
Yeah.
And so those protector parts that you have had since you were a child get activated and go into that place of hypervigilance, and it's almost an autonomic response. Like you don't even maybe know that you're doing it in the moment, and then
Yes.
there's some awareness that comes. And
Correct.
so that part of you that is trying to protect her, the first thing that I would say is yes, apologize and work on the patterning. But what I often find is people forget to validate the protector. Because
Hmm.
that protector part of you at some point in your childhood and young adult life was absolutely needed in order to create safety for you so that you could feel okay in your being because there weren't any other models present for you. Nobody
Hmm.
was teaching you how to let go and surrender. Nobody teaches us how to let go and
No.
surrender, right? They don't teach us how to trust. It's always about either giving our power away to somebody else or hyper controlling. And
Hmm.
so, what I would tell you first is when that activates in the moment when you're about to go into that shame pattern or that judgment pattern of self, of, oh, I did it again, pause before that and literally drop in to the body, take a moment of breath and say, thank you, part that is trying to protect. I
Uh-huh.
validate that you have been here. I validate that you have been needed. Thank you so much for keeping me safe all these years. Thank you so much for keeping all of these my child safe all these years. But we're going to do this differently going forward. It
Hmm.
then begins to be a conversation where you've validated the inner child part that's wounded, that's been protecting. And then we start to have a conversation of let's compromise together and work together to build a new adult mechanism of how we can behave in these situations. And that's what actually creates sustainable change versus I'm just going to go right to trying to do mindset work to interrupt that behavior. That validation step is so, so, so important. And
Right.
so
So
that
really acknowledge that it is there and
mhm.
and try not to even get it to move, just see it.
Be with it as much as you can, because when we've got
Mhm.
something that was created in childhood, remember that children want to be seen, heard, and validated.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
And the moment that they get that, I don't know if you've ever had a child around you that's like in a tantrum or dealing with something really emotionally overwhelming, and the moment you just sit with them and you validate their feelings, they start to calm down, right? They start to
Yeah.
regulate with you. And then you can have the conversation about, okay, maybe we shouldn't hit our sister, maybe we shouldn't. But if you
Yeah.
try to have that conversation before you've gotten them to down regulate,
Yeah.
they can't hear you. They're not
Mm-mm.
present,
No. I think
right?
that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I learned that in hypnosis that people can't go in a hypnotic state if they're in a hypervigilant state.
Right.
And then yet I get hyper vigilant when my daughter doesn't do something that I think she should do. And then
Right.
I will go, why did you? Bah, 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 bah? So I'm already in a hyper vigilant state myself, which would probably make her regulate in a hyper vigilant state of, I didn't
Yeah.
even hear mom, ba, 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 ba to me.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
She'll shut down.
Inter
interesting.
Interestingly, in 2026, we're going to be doing a lot of work where we're working on co-regulation with other humans.
Hmm.
I think the last 4 or 5 years we have been really disconnected and separated. And I think the trends in 2026 are going to be towards smaller group containers where we're coming together and learning how to just human again.
Yeah.
Hmm.
A lot of the nervous system work that we've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years has been about the body and hacking the body and figuring out the body, which is good. We needed to figure that out.
Yeah.
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 Well, we actually got to show up and start to figure out what happens in a moment when we get triggered and that hypervigilance comes in. Can we be in safety with someone in relationship where they see that part of us and instead of judging, they say, "Are you okay?"
Yep.
Right? And can we do that for ourselves so that when that happens with other people, we know how to co-regulate with them too. I think that's going to be one of the biggest themes of this year.
Hmm.
Do you see
Love
any
that.
other themes that are kind of emerging as well?
Oh, yes. It's going to be an interesting year, my friends.
Can you
This,
please share?
yeah. So
Right.
first of all, I'll say that January, what the guides keep saying is chop wood, carry water. Like this
You
is
said that.
yeah, this is an in-between month, right?
Okay.
This is a month where we just need to get our ducks in a row. It is not a month to hustle. It is not a month
Mhm.
to force. It is not a month to make things happen.
Yeah.
We are integrating so much change and so much shedding energy that happened last year that was a 9 year, which was an ending year, and we're not done. Our bodies are trying to catch up with what we closed and clearing the rest of the grief of all of the chapters that we closed. I know within the
Yeah, it was
last
a really crazy 9 years if you factor in that COVID was during that time, or, we
absolutely
lost
a
over a
major
million people in this one country. Right? Like, I mean, it's crazy, like the trauma that could be
major
stored in that. Sorry.
Yeah, and major astrological transits that are happening, all kinds of things that have been happening for the last 9 years. And we're still finishing that up. As we move into February, March, the energy is going to pick up, and the pace of 2026 is going to be a lot. Um, we worked a lot last year on nonlinear manifestation, which is just like fast-paced moving creation energy. We're going to see that double and triple this year, I think. And if we're not doing the work that we need to do to kind of be in our process and take care of ourselves, we're going to get burnt out really easily
That
because the
was
pace is going to be moving so quickly.
Right. That was one of the things I was hearing in my mind when you were saying it's you didn't say the words very important, but you stressed the importance of us really having our own discernment, and really going in within ourselves to be able to hear our own guidance. And that is one of the themes that I keep hearing as well, is that it's going to be, our ability to be able to connect with our, what I call higher self, but having that guidance point to be able to traverse some of this faster quickening.
Yeah,
And
we've got to
that,
have a centered place this year.
yes,
And
yes,
so the overarching word that the guides keep saying for 2026 is co-creation in all ways. So co-creation with source, with earth, with our fellow humans,
yeah,
with the former versions of ourselves, like just co-creation across the board. And in order to be successful in co-creation, we have to be centered in our authentic expression and grounded in
mm-hmm,
ourselves. Right? We can't co-create with someone from a place of disempowerment. That's where we get into loops where our business partnerships don't work out, or our
right,
friendships and our relationships don't work out, because there's a level of disempowerment energy running, and then we'll get that mirrored back to us.
yes,
So we really have an opportunity this year to close the door on places where we are settling, playing small, not believing in ourselves, not trusting
Mhm.
ourselves. And this will be a year-long evolution, right? Like the beginning of the year will be very different from where we end up at the end.
okay,
We've come into this empowerment. We've got a whole year to work through this. The other theme that keeps coming up in a lot of my sessions that people are really trying to process already, and it's only January, is this notion of the timeline gap kind of expanding. I am working with a lot of people who are having to basically close the door on relationship contracts where they're
yeah,
waiting for somebody to join them in their way of thinking or in their vibration or their frequency
mm-hmm,
field. And that person just, for whatever reason, doesn't want to or isn't ready. And what the guides keep showing me, they give me this visual representation of, we can't hold the door open over here and then open this forward
I
moving
gotcha,
time. We're going to be
yeah,
pulled too much in two different directions. And just because we're allowing this door to close doesn't mean we're locking it, right? At any point in time, those people who we've been waiting and waiting and waiting to catch up or get on our same wavelength, they could walk through that door at any time. We're
yes,
just not holding it open anymore and staying in this place of struggle where we're down calibrating to
mm,
where is our resonance. And I
Mhm.
think that's probably the one that's going to be the biggest for people because letting go is hard sometimes, and closing that door feels like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving people behind, or I'm doing the wrong thing. And a lot of that is karmic loops from other lifetimes where we didn't complete our work,
yeah.
and we're so afraid that we're going to miss the mark in this lifetime that we just keep that door open, and it ends up really draining our energy.
And I would even venture to say that when we do close that door and it's not locked, and we do go through the next door, that usually when you said that they can show up anytime, like it does happen that way.
Yes.
I know myself personally in my own relationship, I finally had to realize that my self-worth, like the only person that can define me is me, and my self-worth doesn't come from anybody else,
Mhm.
like not one other person, because I was really giving that to my husband at the time. And when I realized that is when our relationship changed, like the whole dynamic. And I didn't even say anything to him about it. I just knew that I needed to really own me. And I didn't realize how much I was mirroring that back to him. And he was just showing up as he was supposed to, right? And when I was able to give myself my own power back is when everything shifted. And I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a very exciting thing when you've been married as long as we have. You do have these different cycles in your life and your contract as well.
Yeah, I think it's hard in sacred partnership because, every time I go through an evolution, I'm like, okay, is anybody coming with me this time? Right. And I
Yeah.
know a lot of people that are on this path probably move through things very quickly, like I do. And it means that you've let go of a lot of people over the years, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I work on a lot of times with people is that backlog of grief that hasn't been processed, where, doors closed and they're still beating themselves up about it, or they feel like maybe they should have done something different to try to get that relationship to work out. This is in friendships and partnerships and business partnerships, all of the above. But really, the guides are asking us to let go this year and be willing to be excited about what we might step into in this year of new
Yeah.
beginnings and what we might create.
Yeah. So this doesn't matter what astrological sign you are, and this is just
These are the
blanket.
overarching kind of energies of the year. The
Uh-huh.
guides and I always kind of tune into that in January. And interestingly, I'll watch us go through trends with all of the themes throughout the year. And then there's always like this final push in the last quarter where everybody's like, oh my God, I got to get all this done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens every year.
It's
So there
so
will be ebbs
funny.
and flows of it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I already sense that is it seems that this is kind of a year of letting and surrendering and allowing. I think allowing is probably the word.
Yeah, and I think on the world stage, we're going to see a lot of new innovation and new things coming in that are moving really fast. I think what we learned last year with AI coming online is that the speed at which things are transforming is just going to continue to expedite.
Yeah.
And, part of it is that's just because our consciousness and our frequency is increasing and the light that we have access to is increasing. So, of
Mm,
course, our entire reality is going to match that vibration, right? And so I think we're going to see a lot of really positive things come out in the areas that are breaking down across the collective, like the medical system, government. I think we're going to see a lot more focus on community and mutual aid and connection and healing from the ground up at the community level, and people coming up with new ideas and thought processes for that, which I'm very
yeah.
excited about
I
because
am
I've been
too.
doing
Yeah.
that for a long time.
I,
It sounds like it lends itself very well, and I don't know if you, so, are part of the idea of New Earth, but it very much sounds like the idea of bringing, fostering this new whole way of being. And whenever we look at the words, like I always talk about this, like how and hustle, we really chose these two charged words because we wanted to redefine what that really looked like in today's time, right? Like hustle is no longer is it just working your fingers to the bone and 9 to 5. Today's hustle is about collaboration. It has its own inertia, it's flow, right? So that has things that can come into action as flow, and that is how we envision we work with the new earth. And so when you talk about like these more smaller communities and like the bigger systems breaking down and people being able to support
mhm.
each other, that's exciting
Yeah,
because
so
it
exciting.
feels more loving, it feels more authentic anyway, and that really lends itself well to the co-creating. I can see why that is coming up as the theme, like overarching place where
That
humanity's at.
That's
Mhm.
why we have to be willing to close some of those doors, because
Yeah,
those people that are like us that are listening to this, that are kind of on this wavelength, we have work to do. We
I
have
know.
things to create. We have ideas to foster. We have
Yes.
community to build. And it's wonderful to want everybody to join us, right? But until the new is created, those people that are kind of stuck in the old systems, they're not doing it because it's comfortable, right? They're doing it because it's all that they know.
Yes.
And there's
Yes.
normally a level of dysregulation in their nervous system and a level of fear that's really present that keeps them from being able to look towards something new. And so, if those of us who are already doing this work and willing to go out on a limb to be brave can start to be more courageous and brave and start to come into these new ideas and these new creations, then we actually have something that has a foothold for those that are curious to start to explore.
Mhm.
And so what the guides really show me is like for me personally in my life, I had the door open for some people and it was just draining my energy so much that I couldn't focus on the new things that I needed to create and all
Mm.
these people that were coming forward that wanted to co-create with me. And so being willing to close that out creates the doorway for that so that those who might be ready to experience it one day have something to come home to. So that's really the way that I look at the new earth as we're building it. We're building a new home, right, for all of us. So
Yeah, Dana says,
Yeah.
yes, exclamation point. Be bold, be brave. I know Dana's definitely one of ours that we're creating with. Uh, Yesterday, one of the speakers was on and talking about how she experienced her husband had committed suicide, and that was like in 2023. And he came to her and let her know, and her guides as well, that you very much explained how in order for her to do the work that she was going to do today, which was working with the extraterrestrials, which was, very different from the relationship that they had together, that they had this really cool bond and everything, but that 'cause she was like, did it have to be so, dramatic? And they were like, yes, because that. And he said it to her like he had to, remove himself so that she could go and be the full expression of everything that she's doing today. And I thought, wow, because she really is showing up. I mean, me personally, I could see how I might want to, find a little hole and cry and stay gone if something happened like that. But the truth is that we have to dig deep into ourselves and find, because we got things to do. Like, I mean, and it should be exciting. It should feel liberating to have, the reason why we came here, right?
Yeah.
well,
It
that's an
should,
interesting story for you to bring up because that was what I was processing last year was my dad's suicide in 2024. And
Oh
wow.
boy.
as I spent last year navigating my grief process, what was very clear to me is that he was one of the people in my life who was a great inflictor of trauma,
Yeah.
Mhm.
especially in my divine feminine energy. And
Yeah.
when we closed that door and when he left, it was like that was part of my process to claim my empowerment and my divine feminine energy again.
Nice.
And so as I've navigated that and he and I have connected off and on the other side, there's a lot of forgiveness work that's been done and a lot of gratitude work that's come in of the sacrifice that he made to leave to allow that door to open, even though there were a lot of hard things that we went through when he was here.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting when people leave us, whether that's moving beyond the veil to the other side or just leave our lives, that grief that we experience is such a profound heart opener that
Yeah.
brings so many teachings into our experience. And in walking with grief, because I say that in this lifetime, because it has been a huge teacher for me along the years, is it it is a unique vibration that when we honor it and we allow ourselves to be in that process, it opens so many doors for us in the future. So yeah, I think we might be doing some big letting go this year in a lot of ways. And I feel like I got a head start last year, so I'm hoping it'll be a little easier for me this year.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, it does say Ray Shore in your bio.
Yeah.
Dana says the shame, the blame. I'm sorry. Tiffany says the shame, the blame, the guilt of letting go has actually been the hardest. It can be. It can be for sure. I know that firsthand. And then I
Yeah.
think Dana has said something about she knows the experience of the grief
Yeah.
firsthand as well.
Actually, the way that Tiffany wrote that blame, shame, uh, she forgot regret and guilt. But I did this training where they put these kind of buckets of these vibes together, like blame, shame, regret, and guilt.
Yep.
And that was called a distractor implant.
Oh,
And
distractor from the work that we've got to
to
do. So we're
do,
bringing this new earth,
I know,
y'all. Can't you
yeah.
see?
I mean, do you look at implants and explants in your work and how maybe the techies before implanted, explanted, or entities, like, let's take this just a little deeper in
And
this
if
way so that
anybody
we
has,
could clear some of that.
and also want to give some time for one of the best ways is to showcase your work. So however you would like to do that. And if anybody wants to
Yeah,
raise their hand and ask a question directly, please do. Um, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that I use the word implant and explant
Mhm.
directly. I call them programs.
Okay.
That's how I see it in dimensional
I can
frequency.
see that.
Yeah.
Yep. I guess because I had a technology background, that just makes sense for me when I'm talking about things to think of it as a program. But
Mhm.
when I look at those energies, they're multidimensional. So
Mhm.
we might have something from another lifetime that we're bringing in that we've carried in our field, and then we have an experience in this lifetime that layers on top of it, and then we have an ancestral energy that layers on top of that. So
Mhm.
that's why I call them programs, because when I get into those energies of guilt, shame, blame, I look at it from that multidimensional lens of, okay, where are all of the places that that energy signature is coming from in their field? And how
Mhm.
can we start to move through and break down the effects of each of those patterns?
You,
Mhm.
So, yeah, go
I
ahead.
was gonna
Sorry.
say, do you do that individually? Like, would that be something that you could see on me, for example?
Yeah,
Um,
I will often see that in people's sacral chakras. There was a big energy in December where I was working. I went to Glastonbury and visited Avalon and did a whole bunch of work there. And one of the big teachings that came back from that trip for me was this idea of extraction energy, and how we are tied into so many systems and structures and old programs that are
wow.
literally extracting our creative energy from our sacral chakra.
Whoa, whoa,
Wow,
whoa.
Yeah.
that would be a distractor
Yeah,
from our
yeah.
clear
So
purpose.
yeah.
Wow. Wow,
And
I
I
didn't think I
went through a massive clearing in my sacral chakra that came through because of this teaching from the trees that were at the chalice well, that were protecting the well and keeping it in this state of pureness. And
Mm.
these yew trees were there, and they were just holding this vibration of protection, not
Everybody's hand went up.
yeah, not from a defensive posture, but from a place of, oh, we're just holding the line so that nothing is extracting from this pure frequency. And so I think we all have access to this kind of divine pure light, but there are so many things that want to extract from it on all levels. And that has been a big clearing in like the December, early January timeframe that I've seen people working through for sure.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Okay, so
We're,
let's go ahead and
do
take.
you want to take some callers, Katie, or would you
Sure.
rather do an activation? Okay.
Yeah, that would
I,
be good.
all
Joe,
right.
you're
And,
up.
well, let's do Renee because I missed her last time.
Okay.
All right, Renee, you're up.
Hi, thank you. And I feel like everything you're saying is completely like you're talking to me personally. So, and then the what you said about the extractor energy was very spot on. So I'm sort of open to anything that you that you're picking up on.
Okay. Renee, can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
So when I tune into your field, there's an energy of physiological exhaustion and depletion that you're dealing with. Do you resonate with that?
100%.
Okay. And do you feel like that's primarily coming from things that you're engaging with or people that you're engaging with? Like, i.e., is it a work environment where you're at a job that doesn't fit, or are you in a relationship that's depleting you, or maybe it's both?
It is my downstairs neighbors.
Okay. And what is it about them that activates you? What's the response that you have?
Um, well, exhaustion.
Mhm.
They're not
Is
letting
there a
me
feeling
sleep.
is there a feeling
Yeah,
of like hypervigilance with that too?
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So can we try something together? And everybody can do this because y'all are going to have similar questions. Spirit's already showing me. So if it's safe for you to do so, wherever you are, take a deep breath and close your eyes. And I first just want you to be with that part that is scared, hurt, lonely, whatever's activated for you personally. I know I'm speaking to Renee, but I'm speaking to all of you. And this is that hypervigilant part that says, I don't feel safe. And as you tap into that, I just want you to tune into the energies of universal love that are all around us. And you may or may not have a conscious awareness of that energy surrounding you. But what I'm going to invite in with my guides is this energy of unconditional love. Specifically, who's coming in is the Divine Mother, who I've been channeling a lot through the energies of Mother Earth in the last quarter, in the last couple of months. And we're just going to surround these vulnerable parts with love. And I just really want everybody to take a nice deep breath into that. And be in awareness of whatever emotions come up when you think about being held in love. Maybe that's not something that you had as a child. Maybe this lack of safety underneath. That's what I hear for you, Renee. Like what's happening beneath the surface is creating this lack of safety for you. And so you've got a physical representation of that at your house. But I think maybe in your past, in your childhood, perhaps in this lifetime, there was things happening in the environment around you that was happening beneath the surface that was making you feel unsafe, and it wasn't being talked about and it wasn't being dealt with, and you didn't feel like anybody was protecting you.
Yes.
Yeah. And I suspect that that's really triggering for you. But what I want you to hear and what the guides want you to hear is that these people are your helpers.
My neighbors.
They,
My
they're,
neighbors are.
yep, they are triggering this vibration from your childhood so that it can heal because you want to move forward in a state of embodied safety. And so you've called in these people in your life who are activating the heck out of you because
Yes.
you really want to heal this. And so as angry and as pissed off as you are, because that's a valid vibration,
Right.
right? I want you to
Mhm.
realize and be okay with the possibility, hopefully, that at some point you're going to be really grateful for them because they're going to help you clear this.
I've suspected that actually.
Okay, cute. I'm glad
So
you're open.
you're validating what I suspected.
Yep. I'm glad you're open to that. And when we can get to gratitude, we can find closure and things can change on the physical level because remember, they're in a soul contract with you and they're activating these inner child energies of I'm not safe so that you can heal.
Okay.
Right? And so for you and for everybody else, if you've got a situation where somebody is just triggering you, right? Even if it's somebody that you love, like you were talking about your daughter, right? We can work on that too. Um, they are here to help us heal, right? This is what we're learning about being in our human experience, that we're not the victim, they're not the villain. This is polarity that's coming to the surface because we want it to shift into unity. And so, what I'm invoking in this moment, and anybody that's listening can receive this as well, is a healing at the Akashic field level where we're just going to close out some of those contracts. We talked a lot today about closing those doors. This is Renee, one of those doors that you're wanting to close, and you've been wanting to slam that thing shut.
Yes.
We're going to do it a little bit more gently with love because they're
Okay.
teaching us, right?
Okay.
And so we're going to bring in that love and we're going to bring in your Akashic team. Everybody has their own Akashic record keeper, which is an aspect of their higher self. And we're just going to invite some closure, some joyful, celebratory, exciting closure with deep gratitude for those who have been teaching us about the places where we're not holding love, where we're not feeling safe, where we're not feeling secure. And we're just going to bring that vibration in. Everybody's just going to take a nice deep breath. And we're just going to allow that closure to happen. And then just come back into your body, come back into this moment. Thank you for being brave and asking your question, Renee.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lianka has a brief question from the chat.
Sure. Aisha, Aisha, and we're taking her before the mistake because I missed her yesterday. She wants to know when she will meet her love partner for marriage.
Oh, she's not probably not going to like my answer because the guides are going to give her the answer that they like to give for this question, which is that she's going to meet them as soon as she meets herself. That when we're in a place of separation with self and a place of unworthiness in self, that
Yeah.
that lack of connection is creating the inability for us to find that partnership in the external. And so this year for her in particular, and for many of us, is about not only co-creating with other humans and partnerships, which is what we might really want, but actually learning to co-create with ourselves first and find wholeness. To be specific, though, 6 months to a year, if you can get really honest with yourself about where you're not loving you.
Hmm. I saw some hearts come up in the in the response, so I believe that that was received. Let me look real quick.
Sometimes they like to give the teaching before the direct answer.
I know. Yes, and so that's good. Very lovely. Thank you. Alrighty, let me bring up the next person. Let's go ahead and have Tiffany. Tiffany, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Thanks for taking my question. You actually helped me last year in telling me when I was going to let go of a heavy
Mm.
burden friendship, and you said this fall, and that happened in November.
Oh, good.
So, and I felt lighter ever since.
Good.
My issue now is imposter syndrome,
Mm,
deeper than I've ever had it. I went to the live event, uh, Jonathan Bianca's live event, which was amazing. So much healing. But I left feeling like I have a parrot. I left feeling like I don't know crap.
mm,
Watching everybody in their expertise. And like even on this summit, I just feel like a fraud sitting here. And I don't know. I've been
okay.
in this like field 8 years. I have modalities that I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get out of it.
Well, first of all, Tiffany, I want to be honest with you and say that after doing this for all these years, I still have moments of that too. Okay. So the expectation that you're gonna always be able to know that you've got it together and that you're going to be able to do it. There are so many things that Spirit is like, hey, do this. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And they're like, you're going to figure it out. Right. And I just have that type of personality where I'm just like, okay, I guess I'll just try it. Right. So know that this isn't about clearing the imposter syndrome completely. This is about learning to be with that part of you that is outsourcing your power. And so what I
Mm.
see when I look at the energy of imposter syndrome, another word for that is comparison energy. Is, and we're doing a lot of work on this in January, so it's a really good question for this month. But it exists in the solar plexus, and normally there's a physiological component of like a gut healing that needs to happen that we need to go through. And so that's a good place to start on the physical body level. But we've been conditioned either through parental figure or experiences, maybe for you, it might be in relationship where people have either made you question or deny your truth. And so there's this feeling of, I don't know what I am, who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. Right. And the mantra that the guides brought in for January, one of them was, I know who I am in truth. And that's what I keep telling people. Right. That's what we're going to keep coming back to this year of, I know who I am in truth. And that changes in every moment. Right. And
Oh.
so for people that have lots of modalities and they've been training, what I often see is they get stuck in that place of seeking and they never put their shingle out into the world, and then they can't actually develop the confidence because they don't actually have the interface to start to get the validation that they know what they're doing. And so when I work with spiritual entrepreneurs or healers or people that are really wanting to get out into the world and be of service, I always tell them, just start wherever you are and you're going to feel the imposter syndrome, right? It's learning to have enough balance in your system where you can hold space for that as it's happening and continue to do the thing. And that's a lot of nervous system regulation. That's why the gut health is so important, because a lot of that lives there. But for you specifically, there's like a 6 or 7 year old part of you that's really got this program running. So I don't know if that's when you um maybe like went into a different school, or like something changed at school, or something happened for you around that 6 to 7 year old time frame, and your inner child just went, oh my God, I am not capable. Like, this isn't relevant to
Hey.
you, but an example that I see for somebody that might be listening is like, maybe they had trouble with potty training, right? Or maybe they were wetting the bed. Like, it could be something like that from our childhood that actually activates this energy of, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. And a lot of those childhood markers that we were measured against, even in our growth and how we were activating as children in our, in our intelligence and in our academics, a lot of that energy that came in that says, hey, you're not where you're supposed to be, we internalized, and that lives in that kind of gut brain axis, excuse me. So it may be important for you to go back and like really do some work with your 6 to 7 year old, maybe make an altar for her and really bring her home and say, I understand that you're scared because you feel like you don't know what you're doing, but that's not happening in real time. We have the knowledge to be able to move forward. So I would do some reparation work with that part of you and just bring some love in for her to try to get her back home.
Do you see a hysterectomy that I had in November as part of the sacral issue?
It feels like whatever you had removed was blocking your creative flow. So it
Okay.
actually was a really good thing because you cleared a whole bunch of energy. What you're going to need to do this year, though, is rebuild connection to that part of your body and start to connect into your creation energy and that energy of co-creation that we're talking about, especially between your body and the earth. So there's probably some pelvic work that you need to do this year to just reactivate that center too.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh,
Okay.
Katie, it's so great to meet you. You immediately made a connection with me when you said Glastonbury and Avalon. One of my actual female side, my higher female side, has been an Avalon priestess for a while, and just recently she merged with the masculine side. Okay, just wanted to let you know that.
mhm,
Now, there's a thing going on with me that I'm real curious about, and I know I keep talking about this a lot. I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer back in November. Yet, I'm a believer in that everything in our field we are responsible for.
mm,
And it's been a real strange thing because I'm actually grateful it's there. It's opened me up, and I'm moving with creation on things around that. What is cancer really?
mhm,
Not what they're telling us it is. What is it?
mhm,
And they said, well, we don't know what we can do. It's not operable.
mhm,
And I real okay, so you're telling me there's a connection with death here.
mhm,
I decided, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a relationship with both of them.
mhm,
One of them, I keep hearing people around me say, well, good luck with your fight with that.
mhm,
And for a while, I was saying, please don't say that because it's not a fight, it's a relationship.
yeah,
And I'm going to have to pass this one back to Lianka. And what I've started saying is, you can believe that. I'm not available for that.
Mhm.
A
yeah,
lot better. My words are changing. I'm becoming something totally different. I don't know who I am right now. Um, and a lot of what came in with me, and this was weird. I waited 2 weeks before I told my daughter. I was scared how she was going to react.
Mm-hmm.
When it was done, I went, yeah. And I called it in to show her that everybody around her that she loves that gets cancer doesn't die.
mm,
And that's basically the question and where all that's going.
mm. Well, Joe, one of the things that I heard you say that that the guides honed in on, and you're 100% right, but they just want you to change your language a little bit. You said, I believe that we're completely responsible for whatever's happening to us. And what I see with you, because responsibility energy is one of those tricky frequencies where we're either not in enough responsibility and we're kind of in victim, or we're in too much responsibility and we're not being able to receive support from spirit. And you're in the latter half where, yes, we are responsible for this vessel, but spirit wants to co-create this healing with you or this experience with you that you're going to navigate. And you have to let go a little bit to let more of spirit in to support you in this journey. So your relationship to the word responsibility might be some of your work in the early first quarter of 2026.
Hey, cool. I like that. And I totally get that.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
Great. Let's take one more.
Okay.
Mia, you're up.
Hi.
Hey.
You're so beautiful. I just have to say that.
I agree.
I agree. Love it.
So beautiful. Um, I just have a question. Well, first, I guess maybe I should just say what comes up with me, because if I set an intention on what I would like to know, it always goes wrong for me.
Okay.
What do you feel comes up with me?
So what's going on with your heart chakra?
Ah.
What do you
I'm
feel?
having a difficult time dropping into my heart chakra. I was shown that there's a lot of bars around my heart from family, betrayal.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I tune into your field, that's the guides will kind of zero me in, especially in these quick questions. So it feels like alarm bells going off in your heart chakra. So we're back to kind of talking about the hypervigilant part here, right? So you've got a hypervigilant protector part that on one hand is desperately seeking love and connection and support. And at the exact same time is going, no, I can't have that because it's not safe. And so there's kind of this internal war going on in your heart chakra where the two opposing frequencies are at play. And it's maybe showing up for you as either anxiety or like functional freeze in your nervous system, because sometimes when we've got two opposing energies, we go into kind of a frozen state, but it feels really constricted there. And it kind of bleeds into your throat chakra sometimes, it looks like. So there's this part of your truth that doesn't get to come out because the heart closes down. And so surprisingly, what they're actually wanting you to do is actually go deep into your sacral and your root. So the core of where this is healing for you is safety concerns that you are still holding on to from those past relational experiences in your sacral and your root chakra. So one thing that you could do is like do some intentional work outside. I know it's cold, it's winter, all that stuff, but maybe sit somewhere outside where you can actually open up that portal through the cervical portal of the pelvic bowl with the earth and start to release those old experiences of betrayal from the sacral and the root. And as you start to do that, you can start to pull in new unconditional love energy into those lower chakras. And then the heart and the throat can start to come back into balance, because they're not going to come back into balance until that lower chakra system supports itself. And that might also look like pelvic bowl work on the physical level, or something that you might need to do physiologically in the hip and sacral area as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Thank you.
One of the things that we've spoke to all of our speakers about, but not you, is this vibe of crazy rich and free. And some people come and they just try to like give everyone the formula for money, I think. But really, we look at that as a frequency, and I wanted to get your perspective on that vibe.
Well, I guess I tune in first to the word crazy because that feels like a word that I have been trying to reclaim in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Yes, we had
Thank you.
a conversation about craze on the first episode of it.
Being able to be in my weirdness and realize that it's actually not weird, that the things
It's
that I'm
Yes.
talking about are just, getting more and more mainstream every day. When I look at rich, so the word rich comes up for me, and what came in December was this belief that of scarcity as a mindset, of lack as a
Mhm.
and when the guides were talking about it in December, they were saying that it was actually about love.
Mm.
That at our core, we have this belief from conditioned experiences that there is a scarcity of love on this planet. And if we look out
Oh.
at the world and look out at the polarity that we see, it's reinforcing that. And love and source energy are the same, and source energy and money are the same, right? So
Mhm.
when I look at the word rich, I look at it more through that lens of, okay, well, where are we lacking love in our life, and where do we
Mhm.
drop into deeper love so that we can be the magnetic beings that we want to be? And then when I think of
Wow.
That's really
Gosh,
good.
that really reads.
I know. It's really good.
Interesting. I
and
love
and then
that.
when I think of free, ooh, wow, what a powerful word that is. That has such a distinct vibration with it. And there was a time in 2025 where the guys were working with me on freedom codes and what that really meant. And it was kind of the antithesis of this extraction energy that I was just talking about, that we've just been clearing. And freedom is about us being in the fullness of our experience.
Mm.
What we might consider free versus what somebody else might consider free, that's their business, right?
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
have to
makes sense.
stop defining freedom through the lens of somebody else's definition. And
Same thing for
we
success.
that's what I was about to say. That's what we
Oh,
worked
how funny.
on last year, is separating from that definition of success through somebody else's lens. And so freedom for you is just the feeling of openness and greater ease in the next moment, right? And every day that can get wider and wider. And that's like that theme of 2026, of that wider frame of living, right? The more freedom we bring in, the more expansion we have, and being willing to have whatever experiences we came here to have. And that's going to include really high highs and really low lows sometimes, right? Every bit of it is valid, and honoring that frequency for others by honoring their sovereignty. So that's what
Wow.
I'm
Oh, so I'll let them.
Let's go ahead and talk about your special offer.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I brought forward a class that is one of my favorite ones to bring in at this time of year, which is creation consciousness. And I taught this in a 6-module framework. Each module is about an hour and a half long, and then there's bonus content and sound healing with each module as well, and activation.
Ooh, fun.
So it's a
I know.
pretty juicy package of stuff.
Yeah.
And basically what I take you through is the entire creation process as I see it, as the guides see it. And it's a very
Ooh.
different lens on manifestation than most people typically move through, because in each module there's a clearing and an activation that happens, and a teaching. And so we start with this energy of kind of releasing what doesn't serve, because of course we've always got to let go before we have space to receive,
Yes.
right? And then in module 2, we move into the void, which is that liminal space, which is where people mostly get stuck and get afraid, because in the void space, it's where we are in a space of actually the cosmic womb of infinite potential. But people are afraid to be in the void because it feels really scary, because they don't know what's happening. And then we move into the spark, which is kind of what this year is about, right? It's that new beginning, that creation energy starting to come in, that inspiration starting to come in. And this is where we start to kind of harness the connection between the head, the heart, and the sacral, because those are our 3 power centers of creation. And as we move through the spark and we kind of have that incubation of idea, we then move into the next module, which is just the true energy of creation. So this is where we start to co-create with the universe, very much on brand for 2026, and working with all the realms, and actually harnessing that creation has ebbs and flows. So we might have a burst of energy and be in a rhythmic cycle, and then there might be a pause where we're integrating something and having to navigate that, and the challenges that come up when we're trying to create something on someone else's timeline. And then one of my favorites is the actual birth, where we bring it into reality. And this is where we get into the sacral and the root and the pelvic bowl, and where those fear blockers are living. And we work on imposter syndrome, which somebody brought up today.
Yes.
Yep. And then the last module is actually really important that most people miss, which is when the creation exists. Let's say you're building a business or writing a book or creating a program, letting it have its own life, so that you're no longer holding that in your body. Because a lot of us tend to hold our creations in our body, and then they can't expand in the world because they need to also be connected to source and earth. So I take you through a teaching and a healing process of allowing that thing that you've created, whatever it is, whatever you want to create, to have its own life. And this course, some people will go through it really quickly. You might want to take an individual creation that you're working with and go through all the modules and take it slow as you're creating something. It works differently for everybody, but it kind of teaches you this process. And this is one of the courses that I've taught that most people will come back to and say, oh yeah, I got to go back to that module on that creation consciousness course, because I'm stuck in the void and I need to be able to move forward, and I'm going into some patterns. So this is one that a lot of people ask for or reference again after they've taken it.
Wow, what a cool program.
It is really cool. One of the things that Jenith and I experienced was I took Jenith through, we were doing the QHHC session, and we asked about the business, and the business was literally crying back out to us and saying, I need to be more free.
Yeah,
You're holding, yes, you're like, we were
Like a
talking
baby
about
that needs to be out in the world.
And I swear, both Jenith and I almost had tears. We were like, of course, that's what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
I
oh,
see that a
this,
lot when I do business healings with people. They've
uh-huh.
birthed something and they've just put their whole sweat and tears into it.
Yeah.
And then they're still holding on to it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, this is now a teenager and it needs to start to learn how to be itself.
And it
Right.
told us
Yes.
that.
Right.
It was like, I
Right.
need to expand and I need to have my own, like, ebbs and flows, as you
Yeah.
said, too. Like, it needs to learn. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it's so wild. Like, I just hadn't heard many others share in that way about it
Yeah.
being so alive that way, too.
So a couple questions about the package. Each of those modules, how long are they? How do you consume them? And do you get lifetime access to them?
Yep, you have lifetime access. I have it all in a portal so you can easily download. You can access it through your phone. You can download the videos and audio as well. Each module is about an hour and a half, and then there's about another half an hour to 45 minutes of bonus content with each module as
Wow,
well.
wonderful.
So
Wow.
that's, like several hours for each module. So it's a good chunk of information. I tend to bring a lot of information through in my courses. You always get a lot for the value that I bring in. I teach really quickly, and that's why recordings are great. So you can go
Yeah.
back and take notes. There's slides
Absolutely.
and visual aids and things too to help you along. So
Well,
Oh,
it's
that's
very
so
obvious to us that you are very, very knowledgeable and in a lot of aspects of this, and you are definitely getting so much guidance that, of course, you would have, very robust teachings with that too. So thank you. I mean, just the time that we spend with you in this little bit of container here, I
Yeah.
learned so much every time.
Every single time. I think you've been on our show 3 times, and every time I'm like, I love it. We can go anywhere with
Yes.
her and do any, and
And you just
yeah, and you
continue
can
to
always
open up
just
new
like,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just awakening.
Thank you. And Tiffany, it is lifetime access.
Yes.
Yes.
Fabulous. Wow.
Wanda says, thank you, Katie. It was an incredible presentation on the chat. Aisha says, thank you. I do see it. So she was able to see it as she focuses on herself. And she thanks you so much for the beautiful words that you had shared. Mia says, wow, this is amazing. Thank you! Exclamation point. Dana has 4 hearts here. So just a little bit of love on the chat. I love sharing that out loud for those who are listening audible.
well, thank you
Yeah.
all for holding this container and for everybody for showing up and learning and contributing to this collective shift that we're all moving through. We're all doing our part. So thanks everybody
Yeah.
for showing up.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Katie.
I'm going to unpin you. We will be with Ambajam in just a minute. Oh my goodness. Let's
Take a
just
breath.
take one breath.
Gosh, I told you today was going to be amazing. These ladies are amazing, just trailblazers. So cool. Ambajon's going to do the same.
She's going to make us breathe that way too.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and bring her up. Let me stop the recording and start it.